The illusion of attraction. How do I attract women? Easily, naturally, consistently. You've asked yourself that. Maybe out loud, maybe in silence, maybe right after watching her walk away again, with that quiet feeling of I'm missing something. You've seen men who have it. They don't chase. They don't even try hard. And yet, she leans in. She listens closer. She stays. You think, what is it he knows that I don't? If you've ever felt that gap, like there's something invisible women respond to, and you're not quite tuned into it yet, then stop. Right now. Like this video. Subscribe. Because this isn't surface-level advice. It's the kind of shift that stays with you for life. In this video, we're going to tear down the myths you've been fed about attraction and reveal the truth that men like Arthur Schopenhauer understood centuries ago. That women aren't drawn to performance, or charm, or status. They're drawn to something deeper, something primal, something you can't fake, but you can build. And it starts when you stop trying to get her attention and start giving it back to yourself. Let's begin with a hard truth. Most men are invisible to women. Not hated, not rejected, just unfelt. They try, they talk, they smile, they even succeed on paper. But she doesn't feel him. Not in her body, not in her instinct, not in that place inside her that says, follow him. And the reason why? It's simple, he's not there. He's looking outward, trying to win her attention, trying to perform value, trying to be picked. But presence doesn't try. What you think attracts her doesn't. You've been told attraction is about saying the right things, standing the right way, and making her laugh, being interesting, knowing what to do, but all of that is just noise. Because attraction doesn't begin with technique. It begins with energy. She's not scanning for your words. She's scanning for your state. And if your state says, please like me, I hope I'm good enough, tell me I matter, then she doesn't feel desire. She feels pressure, and pressure repels. This is the illusion most men live in. That women fall in love with the man who wants them most. They don't. They fall into the gravity of the man who doesn't need them. And this isn't arrogance. This is alignment. Because when you are full, when you are rooted, when you are walking your path, you become a signal. And signals don't beg. They transmit. Enter Schopenhauer. Let's bring in Arthur Schopenhauer, philosopher of the will, of nature, of instinct. He wrote, "A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills." Translation? You can act confident. You can learn the moves. You can read the books. But if your will is weak, if your center is hollow, if your eyes carry need, she will feel it. Because women don't choose with logic. They choose with instinct. And instinct is ruthless. Schopenhauer believed that humans are not driven by reason, but by a blind, unrelenting will to life. And women, as agents of nature, respond to that will without needing to understand it. She doesn't care if you're nice. She doesn't care if you're a good guy. She doesn't even care if you say all the right things. She cares about what her body feels when you walk in. And if there's nothing, you're nothing to her. Not because she's shallow, but because you're not felt. Most men are empty. Here's what hurts the most. You can be successful. You can be in shape. You can have charm and jokes and style. And still, she will feel he's not connected to himself. Why? Because you've outsourced your worth. To her reaction, to her approval, to her presence. And when your center lives outside your body, you stop being a man. You become a mirror. You reflect back what you hope she wants. But she's not looking for that. She's looking for a container, a frame, a direction. She wants to fall, but you have to stand first. The law of polarity. Masculine and feminine are not social roles. They are energetic polarities. The feminine flows. The masculine holds. As she moves, you contain. As she reacts, you remain. When you chase, adapt, perform, you lose polarity. You become the flow. She becomes the form. And now she has to lead. Now she has to decide. Now she carries the weight. And she respects you less. Not because she's cruel, but because you stop being the man in that moment. Stillness is power. Real attraction doesn't live in what you do. It lives in your stillness. When a man is truly grounded, he can sit across from a woman and say nothing, and she feels more tension, curiosity, and pull than if he talked for hours. Why? Because stillness communicates. I don't need to move for your comfort. I don't flinch for approval. I can hold space and not collapse. This is what every woman is scanning for, not consciously but biologically. Stillness says, I know who I am. I know where I'm going. You are free to come with me or not. No manipulation. No seduction games. Just gravity. She feels it, and her body responds before her mind can explain it. That's not game. That's male presence. The man who doesn't need her. Here's the paradox. The man who attracts women the most is the one who doesn't need to attract them at all. He moves with purpose. He creates. He builds. He rests. He sharpens. He breathes. And when she enters his field, he welcomes her. Not with pressure. Not with hunger. Not with chase. But with a simple question. Does this fit with who I am? That's rare. That's powerful. That's attractive as hell. So, how do you attract girls easily? You stop trying to attract. You become so deeply connected to yourself that she feels you before you speak. You walk with weight. You speak with pause. You move with purpose. You need nothing because you have everything. Not on paper, but in your chest. You are the mountain. She is the weather. And when she feels your stillness, she wants to stay. The weakness that repels her. We reveal what repels her the fastest, not lack of charm. Not poor looks. Not awkwardness. But emotional hunger. The silent desperation that most men don't even know they carry. We'll unpack it and burn it out of you. She doesn't leave because you said the wrong thing. She doesn't lose interest because you weren't tall enough, rich enough, charming enough. She leaves, or never even opens in the first place, because of something deeper. Something most men don't even know they're carrying. It's not anger, not insecurity, not fear. It's hunger, emotional hunger, energetic hunger, spiritual hunger. And she feels it in seconds. In this video, we're going to talk about the one weakness that repels women more than anything else, and how to burn it out of your system without becoming cold, fake, or manipulative. We'll go deep into why your need to be chosen makes you invisible, how women feel your emotional emptiness even when you smile, and how to replace hunger with presence, direction, and internal weight. You're not broken. You're just misaligned, and we're going to fix that from the inside out. She feels what you're not saying. Most men think women listen to their words, but she's not listening to you. She's listening to the tone behind your voice, the tension in your jaw, the delay in your breath, the small flicker in your eyes when she challenges you. She doesn't care about your opinion. She cares about your center. And if that center is hollow, you can't hide it. You can fake calm. You can learn lines. You can even get her number. But if you're carrying emotional hunger, she'll start to pull away. It might take a few days. It might happen within minutes. But it always ends the same. She stops feeling safe. Not physically, energetically. And she walks. What is emotional hunger? Emotional hunger is when you walk into the world with a quiet hope that someone will give you the thing you can't give yourself. Love, validation, significance, meaning, peace. You might not say it out loud. You might even pretend you're indifferent. But she feels it, and it doesn't make her want to help you. It makes her want to leave. Because no woman wants to carry a man's emptiness. She wants to overflow with him, not fill him up. And if you don't understand that, you'll keep bleeding through your smile. Schopenhauer and the will to be filled. Schopenhauer wrote, "The greatest of follies is to sacrifice health for any other kind of happiness." Modern men do this every day. Not just physical health, but emotional clarity. They sacrifice their presence, their direction, their stability for connection. For attention. For being chosen. That's the hunger. That's the sickness. And that sickness leaks into every interaction with women. Because your need is louder than your presence. This is why the man who's too nice gets ghosted. Why the guy who does everything right is ignored. Why the man who just wants to love her ends up alone. It's not because women want bad men. It's because they feel the hunger. And hunger, no matter how well disguised, always repels. What she actually wants to feel. She doesn't want a fixer. She doesn't want a clown. She doesn't want a poet or a project. She wants a mirror. She wants a container. She wants to feel her own feminine energy reflected back to her in the stillness of your masculine presence. Not your words. Not your compliments. Not your nervous charm. Your presence. Your ability to sit across from her, want her, and still remain whole. That is the man she cannot forget. That is the man she relaxes with. That is the man she follows. Signs you're carrying emotional hunger. Let's be ruthlessly honest. You are emotionally hungry if you obsess over what she's thinking, you replay texts in your head, you feel anxious. When she pulls away, you feel better. Only when she responds, you feel a deep emotional crash after sex. You confuse her attention for peace. You lose clarity. When she becomes distant, you say, "I'm fine," when you're not. hoping she notices. That's not masculinity. That's survival. And it's costing you your presence. Why fullness is the ultimate attraction. Here's what flips the entire dynamic. You stop needing her and start including her. You don't chase. You don't convince. You don't perform. You invite. You build your life from the inside. A daily structure, physical intensity, spiritual rhythm, emotional honesty, direction without apology, and from that ground, you allow her to enter. Not because you need her, but because you're full enough to share yourself. That's when she surrenders. The masculine doesn't beg, it offers. Hunger is always looking to take, but the masculine doesn't take. It gives from fullness. It offers. Safety, a direction, a space, depth, challenge, a choice. It doesn't ask to be picked. It invites alignment. And a woman knows the difference. When she feels that, she doesn't test. She doesn't delay. She opens. Because nature built her to respond to true masculine weight. And now you're carrying it. Burn the hunger, don't hide it. So what do? You don't suppress the hunger. You burn it. You feel it fully. The emptiness, the ache, the longing to be seen, the old wounds you keep covering, you sit with it. You breathe into it. You stop blaming her. You stop blaming women. You stop chasing validation. And you begin the slow return to your body, to your breath, to your structure, to your direction. You walk alone, not as a victim, but as a sovereign man, and the world begins to feel you again. The shift she can't explain, but feels. This is when it gets real. One day soon. You'll say less, you'll pause longer, you'll feel more solid, you'll stop proving, you'll carry silence like a sword, and women around you will change. Not because you changed your lines, but because your field has shifted. They feel it in your walk, in your eyes, in your stillness, in your freedom. And suddenly, you won't be invisible anymore. You'll be felt. Formless men, faithless women. We'll look at what happens when masculine structure disappears from the world, and why women start to lead, manipulate, control, or collapse in the absence of form. We'll explore how weak men create unstable women, how emotional hunger invites chaos, and how true masculine structure ends the games. Without saying a word, a woman doesn't stop trusting because she's broken. She stops trusting because the man she was leaning on collapsed. And maybe he didn't scream, didn't cry, didn't cheat, didn't lie, but something inside him turned soft, loose, formless, and slowly, without even realizing it, she began to tighten, to test, to doubt, not because she wanted to, but because the thing she trusted disappeared. Schopenhauer once said, "Compassion is the basis of morality. But for compassion to exist, there must be structure, a shape, a spine, something to hold it all." Modern men have lost that, and so modern women have lost faith. Not in love, but in the masculine. Masculinity is form. Before we talk about attraction, relationships, polarity, we have to start here. Masculinity is not energy. It is form. It is the thing that gives structure to energy. It is the edge, the wall, the container. Without form, there is no order, no rhythm, no safety. And so without masculine form, women are left in an energetic vacuum. One where they now have to make decisions, hold the direction, anchor the chaos, be emotionally stable for two, lead the relationship, set the rules, and that's not polarity. That's fatigue. Why women test men. You think she's just dramatic. You think she's being difficult. You think she's testing you to be annoying. She's not. She's testing to see if the walls are still there. Because her feminine wants to let go, to soften, to feel, to surrender. But surrender requires trust, and trust requires structure. So when she pushes, "Do you still want me? Why are you so cold? Why didn't you do what you said? What do you mean you don't know? Why are you always on your phone?" She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for structure. And when she doesn't feel it, she steps in. She hardens. She starts leading. And that's when attraction begins to die. Polarity is natural until it's broken. The feminine naturally flows. It is emotion, movement, expression, chaos, intuition, heat. The masculine is stillness, order, direction, stability, edge, containment. But in today's world, men have become emotional reactors. Men seek comfort over direction. Men confuse flexibility with passivity. Men collapse under pressure and call it kindness. Men try to be liked instead of being anchored. So what happens? Women lose trust. And when trust breaks, faith goes with it. Not just faith in you, faith in the masculine itself. You can't fake structure. You can memorize everything. Frame control, red pill theory, alpha dynamics, texting strategies, sexual escalation, confidence tricks. But if you're not structurally grounded, she will feel it. And her body won't relax. She might enjoy the attention. She might like your look. She might even want to like you. But something inside her won't let go. Because nature wired her to trust form, not charm. This is where Schopenhauer hits again. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see. Every woman is scanning for that invisible target. Can I trust this man with my chaos? If the answer is no, she disconnects. Sometimes slowly, sometimes instantly, but always deeply. Emotional hunger makes you formless. Let's connect this to the last part. If you are hungry, emotionally, you have no inner frame. You want to be filled, so you adjust, so you please, so you say yes, so you move with her moods, so you perform for approval. You become soft, not open soft, and soft men cannot hold women. They get used, abused, dismissed, resented, because women don't want to lead you. They want to trust you, and you can't be trusted if you can't even stand still in your own being. True structure is quiet. You don't need to yell, or posture, or say, I'm the man here. True masculine form is silent. It's in your breath, your word, your consistency, your emotional regulation, your posture, your boundaries, your clarity. You don't react. You respond. You don't chase. You lead. You don't apologize for your truth. You just live it, with or without her approval. And that's what rebuilds her faith. Not in you, but in the masculine itself. Form gives her something to trust. When you're stable, she cries, you hold her. She doubts, you remain. As she flares up, you don't match it. As she plays games, you don't flinch. As she wants closeness, you offer space, not cling. You don't do this to get her. You do this because this is who you are. And in that space, she feels safe to fall, to melt, to feel, to stop performing, to trust. Now the polarity is back, not because she's feminine enough, but because you finally gave her something to respond to. Women will mirror your frame. Here's the truth. Most unstable women are mirrors for unstable men. If your emotions lead you, she'll follow that chaos. If your needs override your mission, she'll lead the relationship. If you break your word to stay liked, she'll stop respecting you. You don't need to control her. You need to anchor yourself. And when you do, her faith returns. And when her faith returns, she transforms. From chaos to order, the new masculine. This isn't about being rigid, or stoic to the point of numbness, or emotionally unavailable. This is about embodiment, where your presence becomes the pillar around which others can breathe. You create emotional space, not emotional weight. You bring clarity, not confusion. You move with intention, not anxiety. You invite, but never beg. This is the man who doesn't just attract women. He heals their trust in the masculine, by standing as proof that real form still exists. The end of testing, when a woman finally feels, I can trust this man's silence more than most men's promises. She stops testing, she stops leading, she stops running, and she starts relaxing. That's not submission. That's reunion. Masculine form, feminine flow, back in balance. The silent male magnetism. We'll explore what real attraction feels like when you stop speaking so much and start radiating more. We'll talk about the power of eye contact, the magnetic tension of holding space, the woman's body language response to deep masculine stillness, why your silence speaks louder than your game. Attraction doesn't begin in the mouth. It begins in the chest. She notices you before you speak, before your first word, first joke, first smile. She doesn't know why. She can't explain it. But something about the way you enter the room, the way you stand, the way you hold space makes her body lean in. That's not confidence. That's not charisma. That's silent masculine magnetism. And most men will never access it, because they're too busy trying to be seen, instead of learning how to be felt. Schopenhauer once said, "The greatest achievements of the human mind are generally received with distrust." And nothing makes modern people more uncomfortable than a man who speaks little, but radiates presence. Because it breaks the rules. It shifts the frame. It reminds everyone in the room, you don't have to say much when you're whole. The power of being felt. We live in a world that screams. Be visible. Talk more. Make them laugh. Prove your value. Post something. Say something. Show something. But women don't fall for noise. They fall into resonance. She doesn't remember the man who tried the hardest. She remembers the man who stayed quiet, looked her in the eye, and held space with complete non-need. Because every woman has an ancient detector. She's not measuring your income. She's measuring your nervous system. Are you calm? Are you grounded? Are you stable in the fire? Or are you reacting behind your smile? The masculine is silent first. Masculinity begins in silence. Not in conversation. Not in performance. In non-reactivity. The masculine speaks slowly. Moves intentionally. Acts with reason. Waits before responding. Sees, but doesn't immediately explain. This stillness is magnetic, because it signals strength. Not loud strength. Not alpha theatrics. But real biological, felt stability. And that's what her feminine is scanning for. She doesn't want more words. She wants to feel your weight. And if your energy is everywhere, in your voice, your phone, your thoughts, your face, you feel thin to her. She might enjoy the moment, but she won't surrender into you. Because you don't hold enough. You're moving too fast, talking too much, proving too hard. And presence doesn't beg. It rests. Build magnetic density. What does it mean to have presence? It means your mind is not wandering, your breath is slow, your body is relaxed but poised, your attention is undivided. Your sense of self is rooted. It means your energy doesn't leak when she looks at you. You don't adjust. You don't posture. You don't fill silence. You let it breathe. Because you're not trying to entertain her. You're allowing her to feel you. This is the core of silent male magnetism. You don't try to be liked. You live as if you already are. And paradoxically, that's what makes her curious. That's what makes her open. That's what pulls her in. Because you're no longer trying to access her body. You're giving her access to your center. The nervous system test. Every woman runs a subconscious test. It sounds like this. If I push this man emotionally, will he flinch? She may not ask it out loud. She may not even realize she's doing it. But in the subtle shifts, the tone of your voice, your eye contact when challenged, your pace when things get quiet, your breath when she gets fiery, your stillness and tension, she's watching you. And if you collapse, overreact, shrink, or perform, she knows. I can't trust him with my energy. Not because you're bad, but because you're unstable. Masculine magnetism isn't about the surface. It's about how much charge you can carry without leaking. If you can hold her heat without overheating, she feels it. If you can hold her emotions without fixing them, she melts. If you can be fully present without pushing or pulling, she relaxes. Now she wants to come closer, because she can finally let go. Stop talking. Start radiating. Here's the practice. For the next 7 days, say 30% less than you usually would. Let silences stretch. Let your breathing lead. Let your presence speak before your voice does. Hold eye contact longer. Move slower. Answer only when you've fully felt the question. Don't perform. Don't explain. Just be. And watch what happens. You'll notice. People listening more, women lingering longer, atmospheres shifting when you enter, tension growing. The good kind. Why? Because you're no longer leaking energy. You're holding it. And when you hold it, people feel it. The internal signal she feels first. You've probably noticed this before. You walk into a room, you're not dressed up, you don't say anything, but suddenly, eyes turn toward you. You're not doing anything special, but you're carrying something others aren't. That something is inner containment. It's what makes a man feel like a mountain, even if he's soft-spoken, even if he doesn't flex, even if he doesn't smile. It's pure signal, and signal doesn't beg for attention. It commands it by existing. Your gaze is your gateway. One of the most overlooked tools of male magnetism, eye contact. Not staring, not dominance, but relaxed presence. Looking at her, not through her. Seeing her, without chasing. Your gaze should feel like, I see you, and I still choose me. Not aggressive, not cold, just deeply there. Women feel it like a current, because very few men actually look. They glance, they scan, they search. You observe, with no need. And in that gaze, she feels seen. And that moment alone makes her soften. Stillness as status. The highest form of status isn't in power, or money, or beauty. It's in not needing to prove any of it. Stillness says, I don't need your attention. I am already rooted in myself. And that is priceless. It cannot be bought. It cannot be copied. It must be built in silence. It's what monks have, what warriors carry, what your grandfather had when he sat at the table and didn't speak unless it mattered. It's what every boy must grow into, and what every woman still craves. Because it's real, And real doesn't need to shout. The end of the performer. Most men are actors. They're performing masculinity, performing confidence, performing desire. But she doesn't want a performance. She wants a man who isn't performing anything. A man whose life is the performance, whose walk speaks more than his pitch, whose attention feels cleaner than her last relationship, whose silence calms her nervous system, whose presence pulls her deeper into her body, just by being near him. You can't fake that, but you can become it. The return of sexual gravity. We explore what happens when your presence becomes not just grounded, but charged. We'll go into sexual tension without movement, the primal magnetism of embodied masculine energy, how women feel when your sexuality is integrated, not hidden, and how your desire, clean, non-hungry, and steady, becomes a magnetic field because the most attractive men don't chase sex. They radiate polarity. Most men radiate sexual need. Few men radiate sexual gravity. One is chaotic. The other is magnetic. One makes her feel pressured. The other makes her feel pulled. One takes energy. The other holds it. If you've ever felt like women enjoy your presence, laugh at your jokes, but go cold the moment tension builds, this is why. Your desire isn't embodied. It's leaking. And a man who leaks can't pull. He can only push. And women don't want to be pushed. They want to be drawn in. Schopenhauer once wrote, "Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world." Most men take the surface of attraction, the words, the timing, the status, and assume that's all there is. But the real field? It's internal. It's energetic. It's sexual, but not reactive. It's gravity, and gravity doesn't chase. It centers. Sexual energy is not the same as hunger. Let's clear something up. Sexual energy is not about needing sex. It's about carrying desire without collapsing. Most men confuse the two. They think attraction means getting laid, proving worth, scoring a number, winning approval, being chosen, so their sexuality becomes transactional. Reactive, needy. They want something, so they reach. But reaching is not masculine. Holding is. And that holding begins in your energy. If you feel like your sexual desire is something you can't show, or can't speak from, or must cover in charm and politeness, then you don't own it. It owns you. And if it owns you, it will never attract her. Because you can't lead from unclaimed territory. Women are drawn to held desire. You've heard the phrase, women want to feel wanted. It's true, but they want to feel wanted by a man who isn't controlled by his wanting. She wants to feel your fire, but only if that fire is contained. Think about it like this. A candle is warm. A wildfire is dangerous. When your sexual energy is hungry, grasping, and anxious, you feel like wildfire. Out of control. She won't melt. She'll protect. But when your desire is calm, clean, and fully held, she opens. Because you feel like a fire she can trust. The energy behind the eyes. The most magnetic men carry something in their gaze. It's not aggression. It's not indifference. It's not manipulation. It's presence. But with charge. Their eyes say, I want you, but I won't chase you. I see you, and I'm not moving. You're beautiful, and I won't collapse. That energetic calm paired with unapologetic attention creates a field of tension. And tension is what the feminine craves. Because where there's tension, there's polarity. And where there's polarity, there's attraction. Shame and the death of polarity. Let's go deeper. The reason most men lose their sexual pull has nothing to do with women. It's how they treat their own sexual energy. You can't watch porn for 10 years and expect your nervous system to radiate masculine fire. You can't chase fast dopamine and expect slow tension. You can't drown your natural desire in shame, guilt, or hiding and expect women to trust you with theirs. When you bury your desire, you feminize your relationship with it. You become afraid of what you feel. You become reactive, dishonest, fragmented, and the feminine feels that. A man who hides his desire will always carry tension in the wrong places. His voice tightens, his eyes avoid, his hands twitch, his spine curls inward. She doesn't know why, but she doesn't want him. Because desire is not what you feel. Desire is what you transmit. And if yours is distorted, hers can't flow. Integrate the fire. So what's the path? You stop rejecting your sexuality. You stop trying to be safe with it. You stop treating it like a problem. You integrate it. You let it live in your breath, in your spine, in your stillness. You let it be seen without apologizing. You let it fill your voice without overusing it. You let it live behind your eyes without flinching. You reclaim your primal edge. without becoming a slave to it. That's what real women crave. Not control, not suppression, but a man whose fire is anchored. How polarity feels to her. When your sexual energy is fully integrated, a woman's body starts reacting before her mind. She breathes deeper, she plays with her hair. As she tilts her head, her voice softens. As she moves closer, her skin flushes, her energy warms, and you haven't even touched her. You haven't done anything. You've just held the field. And in that field, she feels herself more deeply. That's the true gift of masculine presence. You don't steal her energy. You amplify it. And that makes you unforgettable. Masculine direction in intimacy. Let's talk sex, briefly but clearly. Most men think, I need to please her. I need to last long. I hope I'm doing it right. But masculine sexual gravity doesn't ask. It leads. With calm. With clarity. With breath. With eye contact. With direction. Not in a forceful way. In a rooted way. You're not performing. You're guiding. And that's when she stops thinking and starts feeling. Carry the charge in all of life. Your sexual energy isn't just for intimacy. It's creative energy. It's focused energy. It's presence. It should be in how you walk, how you work, how you train, how you say yes, how you say no, how you live your damn life. When it's blocked, you hesitate. When it's leaking, you feel scattered. But when it's contained, you become a force of nature. And people, not just women, feel that, because sexual gravity is life gravity. And it all starts with how you hold your fire, the quiet flame that leads. In the end, this isn't about sex. It's about directional presence. A man who can walk into a room, want something, feel it fully, and still not need it. That's leadership. That's polarity. That's the quiet force that shapes women without words. Because your clarity removes her chaos. Your tension pulls her deeper into her own body. Your eyes say, I'm not afraid of this heat. I am this heat, but I am not consumed by it. That's what creates faith. That's what creates fire. Beyond seduction, the masculine mirror. We go even deeper. We look at how your very presence becomes a mirror for the feminine, reflecting her in ways that awaken and challenge, leading without saying a word, creating emotional clarity. Without therapy will break the illusion of needing seduction, and show you how to become the man who doesn't seduce. He just reveals. She doesn't fall for you because of what you do. She falls because of what she sees in herself when she's with you. This is the shift. You stop performing. You stop seducing. You stop trying to make her feel something. And instead, you become a mirror. You stand still, and her own reflection begins to rise. Sometimes beautiful, sometimes messy, sometimes wild, raw, powerful, but always real. And that realness? That's what she trusts. That's what she craves. That's what draws her back, again and again. Schopenhauer once wrote, "It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else." This is why seduction fails. Because seduction tries to pull happiness out of her. It manipulates. It dances. It performs. But masculine presence says, I won't entertain you. I'll just be, and in my stillness, you'll meet yourself. Most men try to be the movie. Let's be honest, most men are addicted to creating reaction. They want her to laugh, to lean in, to compliment, to validate, to flirt, to smile, to surrender. They live off her response. And without it, they collapse. That's not leadership. That's dependence. And the moment you need her to feel something, you are no longer a man. You are a beggar, wrapped in charm, but hollow in core. A man who tries to be the movie, the drama, the hero, the seducer, is exhausting. Women may flirt with him, but they rarely trust him, because his power isn't real. It's reactive, and a reactive man can't lead. The mirror is made of stillness. True masculine power doesn't pull emotions from her. It reflects them back to her. This requires stillness, attention, breath, zero agenda, zero need, zero performance. You listen not to impress, but to understand. You watch not to control, but to feel. You speak not to guide her feelings, but to express truth. And when she's in front of you, your presence says, you are safe to be all of you. I will not run. That changes women, because very few men can hold that kind of mirror. What she sees in you, she feels in herself. This is the paradox of attraction. She's not drawn to you. She's drawn to who she becomes around you. If you're calm, she can soften. If you're stable, she can release. If you're centered, she can expand. If you're honest, she can finally stop pretending. You're not doing anything. You're simply being with weight. And that weight clears distortion. It clears noise. It clears masks. Until only truth remains. Women are intuitive. They don't need words to feel lies. But they need space to find truth. And when you become that space, you become unforgettable. Not because you dazzled her, but because you let her see herself clearly. The mirror doesn't flinch. Here's the hard part. When a woman is reflected clearly, she may not like what she sees. Old wounds, unworthiness, trauma, fear, control, projection. And if you flinch, defend, collapse, or apologize when she reacts, you break the mirror. You go back to seduction, back to managing emotion, back to chasing peace. But a real man doesn't chase peace. He creates space for storms and stands in them without losing posture. That's what earns trust. But what if she leaves? Then she wasn't ready for a mirror. She was looking for a screen. Let her go. You are not here to entertain. You are here to reveal. And the woman who's ready will come back not because you chased, but because she recognized herself in your reflection. Stop playing the rescuer. Most nice guys think leadership is emotional caregiving. She gets upset, he soothes. She panics, he fixes. She spirals, he explains. She accuses, he reassures. But this isn't strength. This is codependent theater. And it will destroy polarity. Because now she leads the emotional tempo. Now she's parenting the man who's supposed to hold her. Now her feminine can't surrender, because you're too busy reacting. You don't need to solve her. You need to see her. And trust that seeing is enough. What holding the mirror looks like. This is what it actually looks like. She's emotional. You stay calm as she projects. You don't bite, she flirts. You smile, not perform, she withdraws. You don't chase as she opens. You stay grounded and she keeps coming back. Not because you said the right things, but because in a world of mirrors that break, you stayed solid. You didn't crack under pressure. You didn't try to fix what wasn't yours. You didn't reach. You didn't hide. You just held your frame and became her invitation to truth. The man who makes her grow, a man who lives like this, becomes a mirror that sharpens. He doesn't comfort weakness, doesn't flatter the mask, doesn't play along with drama, doesn't carry her emotional load. He reflects. And in that reflection, the woman begins to meet a new version of herself. Sometimes she resists. Sometimes she pushes. Sometimes she collapses. Sometimes she blooms. But always she changes. Because true masculine presence challenges her. And that challenge is love. That challenge is growth. That challenge is real. Attraction without attachment. Here's the final truth of this part. You don't get to decide how they respond to your mirror. Some will run. Some will fight. Some will fall in love. Some will never forget you. Some will never understand you. And all of that is fine. Because your job was never to seduce. Your job was to be clean enough to reflect without distortion. And when you do that, you stop trying to win women. You start inviting them to rise. Not to serve you, but to meet you, fully. The final field, stillness, fire, and choice. In the final part of this journey, we close it all. Stillness as a way of life, sexual fire that never burns you out, deep presence as your legacy, a choosing, not chasing, leading, not forcing, attracting, not performing. This is the quiet crown, the unshakable weight of a man who knows. I don't need to be anything else. I'm already here. There is a weight a man carries when he's no longer searching. Not because he found everything, but because he found enough. Enough stillness to stop chasing. Enough fire to keep moving. Enough clarity to stop explaining. Enough direction to walk alone and never feel lonely. This is not the end of your growth. It's the beginning of your way of being. The quiet field, where everything in you becomes choice. Schopenhauer once wrote, "The person who writes for fools is always sure of a large audience." But this series wasn't for fools. It was for men ready to walk beyond the noise. Not to perform masculinity, but to embody it. Live it. Transcend it. This final chapter is not instruction. It's integration. The part where you stop trying to become and start being. Stillness is your ground now. You don't flinch anymore. You don't hurry. You don't run toward comfort or away from discomfort. You've slowed down, not because you're weak, but because you're in control. You can feel a woman's storm and not absorb it. You can feel your own anger and not collapse. You can enter a room without bending your frequency. You are here, fully, and you trust that presence more than any strategy. Stillness is no longer something you use. It's something you are. Not silence as avoidance, but silence as sovereignty. Your mind doesn't race. Your energy doesn't beg. Your purpose doesn't tremble. You are grounded. And grounded men don't get pushed. The fire that no longer burns you. You've reclaimed your sexual energy. You no longer seek to spend it. You let it circulate. It charges your spine. It fills your voice. It sharpens your eyes. You don't chase women. You don't chase attention. You don't even chase impact. You carry your fire like a man carries his own shadow, with respect, with ownership, with calm, and the world feels it, because you are no longer reaching outward. You are lit from within. You've become selective, not defensive. There's a big difference between saying, "I don't want this," versus, "I'm afraid of wanting it." Now you say no not out of fear, but out of clarity. You say yes not for approval, but for alignment. You've stopped trying to be right. You've started choosing what's true. And this makes you rare, because most men are still reacting, still adjusting, still bending themselves to be chosen. But you don't bend, you invite. And those who can't meet your stillness simply fall away. No anger, no drama, just release. You no longer need to be understood. This might be the final freedom, the ability to be deeply misunderstood and still remain calm. You no longer explain your path. You no longer justify your pace. You no longer seek agreement from those who can't feel your vision. You walk, and the right people align. The rest disappear. Because your life isn't built for crowd pleasing. It's built for depth. And depth doesn't need applause. It just needs breath. Presence over power. There was a time when you wanted to be powerful, respected, admired, desired. Now, you just want to be present. In your body, in your work, in your relationships, in your silence, in your presence, because power fades. Looks fade, tactics fade, but presence deepens. And that's what makes you dangerous, quietly. What women feel around you now. You don't speak more. You don't try harder. You don't perform. But women open. Why? Because now, you see without judgment, you hear without reacting, you feel without chasing, you stand without shifting, you desire without pulling. You've become the mirror she didn't know she was searching for. Not because you reflect her beauty, but because you reflect her truth. And women fall in love with the men who hold their truth without running. You lead by vibration, not volume. You don't tell people what to do. You don't set examples. You simply are the example. You wake up on time. You train. You stay calm. You protect your rhythm. You speak only when the words have weight. And people notice, not with excitement, but with a quiet sense of, he's different. That's influence, not content, not clout, but transmission. Your legacy is your field. You may not build an empire. You may not go viral. You may not be known in every room, but you will leave a field. In the woman who felt safe for the first time, in the friend who watched you stop lying, in the child who sensed your calm and modeled it, in the stranger who changed direction. Because of your example, your presence became permission. That's legacy, and no one can take it, because it wasn't about performance. It was about energy, and energy moves through time. The game is over, and you're not in it. Let's be clear, you're not better than other men. You're just no longer in the game. You don't compare. You don't chase. You don't flex. You don't comment. You don't need to be picked. You are no longer trying to be a man. You are simply being one. And that's what makes you different. Not effort. Essence. The circle closes. You started this journey with questions. How do I attract women? How do I become a man? How do I stop feeling lost? And now, you don't ask. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've become the kind of man who can sit with any question and not run from it. You're no longer trying to be chosen. You are choosing. And that is the final field: stillness, fire, and choice. Closing message to the viewer. You made it here. Most never do. Most scroll. Most forget. Most move on to the next noise. But you sat in silence. You felt the weight. You walked this road, all the way to the end. And you're not the same man anymore. You may not see it yet, but it's in your breath, in your stillness, in your ability to walk forward without asking who's watching. There are more videos on this channel, not for entertainment, but for men who are building something real. Click through when you're ready. No pressure, no hype, just signal. And if this spoke to something true inside you, keep going. Quietly, clearly, relentlessly. You're no longer seeking. You are becoming.